Well, the 10-year bull market that we celebrate today started under President Obama, but if it keeps going, could it help President Trump win in 2020? Joining me now to debate it, Independent Women's Forum's Nan Hayworth, former Democrat Congressional Press Secretary Rochelle Ritchie, and Trump 2020 Advisory Board member Jenna Ellis. Good to see you all, ladies. Thank you for being here. So, Nan, we know that President Obama had the slowest recovery since the Great Depression.
Right.
He raised taxes and increased regulations. A lot of people said it was the wrong thing. However, the reboot of the market began under his watch. He won in 2012 re-election, partly as a result of what the market was doing. So is the same thing going to happen for the re-election of Donald Trump?
Well, I think obviously a continued bull market will help President Trump, but I think we have reasons to anticipate that it will continue. When we think about the Obama bull market, a lot of its energy was derived from the fact that interest rates, the Fed started quantitative easing, is effectively keeping interest rates incredibly low. So there was no place to go but the markets, basically, and that certainly helped the markets. President Trump was given runway by the fact that the economic recovery, such as it was so slow under President Obama. That gave him an opportunity to, with deregulation and taxes, really help the economy grow. That does help markets. And in addition, the Fed has now decided, Jerome Powell has decided that he can be a little more dovish about interest rate hikes right now. That's a positive for the market, and I think that will help President Trump. Deregulation and tax cuts are growing the economy. Good for the economy, good for the markets.
All right. Jerome Powell, by the way, is the head of the Federal Reserve. They're the ones that set the base interest rate that leads other interest rates to go up or down. Rochelle, the day after President Trump was elected president, the market began to go up, and it's been going up ever since. It's kind of stalled at around 25,000 on the Dow, but it went up 7,000 points right after he was elected. I mean, there does seem to be a connection between the economic policies, or at least the opinion of the business community and the investment community about his benefits for the economy. Can he use that to win re-election?
Well, look, I think that the economy is obviously going to be a strong talking point for Donald Trump and for the Republicans in general. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that it looks really good when you look at the unemployment rate, when you look at job growth, things look really great. But I think that's going to be a strong talking point for the Republicans. What the Democrats I see doing is countering that with the fact of his tax plan and how that has affected Americans. When you look at the tax plan, you have 49% in a poll right before the midterm elections that say that his tax plan has not had any sort of financial benefit to them. So I think that Democrats are going to run on the entirety of, looking at the tax cuts, saying this did not help you. He's cutting taxes to billionaires and millionaires. And I think they're going to turn it back over and focusing on health care, because right before the midterm elections, health care trumped, no pun intended, but health care trumped the economy, which normally does not happen. So I think it was about 41% of people said that health care was the biggest thing. So Republicans are going to be focused on the economy.
Rightly.
Democrats are going to be focused on
Jenna,
health care.
do you think the Republicans could have done more in the last election to make the connection between the booming economy, this extraordinary jobs number that we have, which is, the first time in my life where you've had more jobs available than people looking for jobs? They didn't make that connection strong enough between the tax cuts and the effect it had on the economy. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think that the GOP really needs to hit that very strongly, and I think that President Trump definitely did, and he came out very strong. He's talked about that quite a bit, and I think what Republicans need to do in 2020 specifically is to point out how progressive and socialist the Democratic agenda genuinely is, and talk about that conservatism and the founding principles of America are genuinely capitalism when we're talking about the economy. We don't want single-payer health care. We want options. We want everything that's in the best interest of families, of the individual, and to make our own choices and not have big government in Washington making those decisions. And so drawing not only the connection of everything that Trump has done that's been in the benefit of every American, whether or not they voted for him, but also how his continued policies and conservatism generally not only is constitutional, but absolutely in the benefit of Americans.
But, Nan, it's a little early to be outlining a counterattack to Democrats when Democrats, I don't think, have settled on what their economic policy is, how far to the left it'll be.
Very true, but they are running a great risk. They do seem largely to be stampeding to the left. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Vice President Biden likely joins the race, because then the aura of the Obama era and, of course, his relative centrism will attract a lot of Democrats who feel disaffected now. But I think Rochelle's point about health care is well taken, and I think the Republicans do, Jenna's as well, the Republicans do have to, speaking as a doctor, emphasize over and over again, and do it now, how important it is that what they offer for health care, they will be protecting patients with pre-existing conditions. They will be offering Americans more affordable care and give them quality and choice. That's crucial.
Rochelle, I know you tend to be with the moderate wing of the Democrat Party, and it must concern you that so many of the people who do veer towards socialism in the Democratic Party are kind of leading the charge these days. When do you think you begin to see some of that pulled back by somebody like Biden?
I don't really know if they're leading the charge or if they're just really leading the headlines, because of the things that they say are so, out of the norm of what we're used to hearing. So I really think that, when you hear Ocasio-Cortez and others, I think they're leading the headlines, but I don't think they're leading the party at all.
But you do have someone like Nancy Pelosi who's come out and is actually backing someone like Representative Omar and just making kind of excuses. So you have the acknowledged leader of the Democratic Party about
anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and just
she also put forth a resolution, though.
But it didn't specifically call her out.
We're going to be talking more about that coming up.
But that's the leader of the Democratic Party.
But I like the idea of Biden coming in. I think that is going to bring us back a little bit more to the middle. And I've said this already right before we came, that I believe a Biden-Harris ticket is a winning ticket.
Okay, ladies, we'll see you in the next hour as well. Thank you very much. Well, fresh off of